this industry that I had seen kind of blossom over time, and seeing it from scratch, being developed and delivering health benefits for people. And so, in fact, I'll take you way back, even before my own history. In fact, later on, my family actually, I had more opportunities to become a part of the manufacturing process and product development process as a young child, as a teenager and such. That's really what led me many, many years now later to, where we are today. But if you take a look at, this whole concept of wellness, it's not a new concept. In fact, it's ancient. Not only recently has science, been able to validate what our ancestors have known for thousands of years, but there's two components to the concept of wellness, and they're originated in ancient times. So the first one is preventative, right? And that concept is coming up more and more these days. And the second is how your body works holistically. Prevention definitely is the best medicine. Absolutely, hands down. And however, there's another holistic type of element to wellness, which is kind of like an ecosystem concept. And basically, it means that when you alter one part of the body, you alter another as well. So these ideas actually date back to 3000 BC, specifically to India and China. And so both cultures actually played a large emphasis on proactive measures and not reactive measures like medicine. I'll get to that in a moment. But by focusing on an individual as a whole, rather than focusing on one particular part of the body, the ancients, embraced a holistic approach that incorporated aspects of the mind, body, and spirit to achieve overall balance. And, both the Indian, Ayurvedic, and traditional Chinese medicine perceived that wellness could be achieved via the gut and digestive health, and saw great importance in proper diet and nutrition. So herbal supplements can be traced back actually to both of these cultures, and several other wellness concepts we consider mainstream today, like yoga, meditation, acupuncture. You probably are very familiar with many concepts today that root back to both of these cultures. Now, the Western approach to wellness actually differed, very greatly from these Eastern philosophies. In the early 1900s, the idea of holistic wellness was virtually unheard of. If you were experiencing a symptom of unwellness, you focused on minimizing that symptom, not the root of it, not the proactive approach. It was very reactionary, in fact. So rather than utilizing food for wellness, it was perceived that many whole foods were bad for you. So I know that sounds odd, but yes, back then at this turn, when this happened, whole foods were actually, people thought back in early 1800s, or the late 1800s through the early 1900s, people thought that harmful bacteria could actually come from unclean food. So processed foods were perceived as being even healthier. So as commercial foods actually became more processed, because of that, it lost a lot of its nutritional content. Okay, now around this time as well, the medical community and the scientific community actually began seeing a really strange phenomenon. It's based on socioeconomics. Wealthier urban families were actually experiencing more health issues than the ones in the poorer or rural communities. Can you believe that? Now, it's almost the very opposite right now, but we'll get to that in just a moment. But it actually turns out that these wealthy families were eating more processed foods, which were often more expensive back then than unprocessed counterparts. So this meant that the wealthy were getting less nutrients than the poor. And the idea of supplementation to improve wellness began to gain popularity. There's a specific scientist named Casimir Funk. He actually coined the term vitamin in 1912. Scientists, began to isolate various vitamins and minerals essential to overall well-being as a reaction to this phenomenon that was happening. And one of the very first vitamins that was isolated and made available to consumers was vitamin C. And it was used to protect against scurvy, which you may have heard me talk about before too. The lack of vitamin C actually causes your body to stop producing collagen, which is what scurvy is. And so this was especially prevalent in affluent children as well, who had access to sterilized milk, because sterilized milk, it actually used a process that removed the vitamin C from the milk. Okay, now by 1930s though, people were actually beginning to look at science and look actually to science to learn more about how to optimize wellness, and they started discovering how to synthesize a number of different vitamins and minerals, and in a kind of lab setting, right? Just like what I was talking about with my dad being in those labs. And actually back then in the 1930s was when the multivitamin was created. And then jump a decade later, in 1941, there was, Western cultures actually developed this concept called RDA, Recommended Daily Allowances, as nutritional guidelines for supplementation, and multivitamin became even more popular and more mainstream at that time. Now, during the latter part of the 20th century, supplements actually became a booming industry, okay? And this is precisely, my roots in dietary supplement manufacturing came from this phenomenon of where it became even more and more popular, where it ended up affecting policy as well and regulations. And anyways, they were marketed, heavily to health and wellness and fitness enthusiasts, to optimize athletic performance back then. The idea of proactively taking a role in your own physical well-being was slowly starting to take shape as studies kind of emerged and linked taking supplements targeting specific health goals, like vitamin C for immune health, or vitamin E for optimal heart health, and lecithin, for healthy cholesterol levels. So the advancement in nutrition science evolved, and the benefits of the natural and whole foods actually became more widely known. The demand for these natural products and whole foods grew. So now by the end of the 20th century, wellness was becoming an important factor in consumers' purchasing decision. In fact, I just mentioned to you earlier, the Nutrition Business Journal just mentioned that we are in the golden era today of dietary supplementation. Now, back then, companies started beginning actually fortified foods with vitamins, that were lost in processing, breads and different products, milk, for example, was fortified with vitamin D, wheat, and bread products were fortified with niacin and iron, because in the processing they lost that. Iodized salt. So you probably are very familiar with all these concepts because they exist in any of the processed foods that you see today. Now, there's never been such an emphasis now on wellness in modern history as there is today. And this is precisely why one of those factors that make us successful, and one of the reasons why in 2020 we were successful, is this focus on health and wellness more than ever before. Again, the golden era of health and wellness is here. People everywhere are seeking out proactive ways to improve overall health and their quality of life, including their physical, mental, emotional wellness. This whole notion of holistic health actually, was valued in ancient civilization, but it has returned as, and you know this, it's more community driven than ever before. So wellness trends today actually, include aspects of real estate, of tourism, air quality, green space, neighborhood walkability, noise pollution. Wellness trends and technology exist too, so you probably have a health or fitness app. I probably have like 1 million on my phone, that including like calorie counters and step trackers, guided meditation, white noise, all of these things have been part of the evolution of this wellness that we see today. And it's not just consumers who are becoming more proactive about wellness. As a leader, in wellness for over 30 years now, Modere, we prioritize recyclable packaging, carefully selected clean label ingredients, as you know, and formulas that are biodegradable and gray water safe. So we started doing this way before even some of the more recent trends, pioneers again in this clean label philosophy. And we help lead today the global trend toward whole foods for optimal nutrition, relying on the latest clinical research and scientific studies to ensure that our products are the cutting edge, of wellness technology and further empowering consumers to be able to take control over their well-being. And we're very proud to give back to the community as well via our partnership with Vitamin Angels, a nonprofit organization who actually helps to provide nutrition all around the world. So the future of wellness will continue to see an emphasis on whole foods and whole food extracts for optimal nutrition, including phytonutrients and probiotics for gut health. Some of the trends right now that are happening, especially in gut health, and there's new science right now that's actually evolving. Our collective understanding of this area is evolving and shifting, and it has quite a bit. It's actually poised to actually exceed $59 billion in the next few years as people are continuing to look toward natural health alternatives that deliver real results for your overall health. And the emerging evidence out there tells us that there's even more wellness, more to wellness than we previously even had imagined or thought. So you probably are getting an understanding that I'm, going somewhere with all of this. So let me tell you, and we'll jump right into it, that history was really important for you to understand where we are coming full circle when it comes to health and wellness. And in fact, I mentioned something important. It's probably your first clue about what our new product launch is all about. We're at the emerging, point of the newest, biology of wellness, the greatest technology of wellness. Years ago, so, before I get into our new product here, I just want to be able to tell you my fascination with specifically gut health and microbiome. Years ago, it was probably about 4 years ago, started drawing a connection between collagen and gut health. And then as I was looking into it more and more, because there's more science and there needs to be more clinical research that needs to happen there. But I had never been more excited about a category of health and wellness than I had when I started doing this research. And things were just coming to me, like just from everywhere as signs that I was headed in the right direction here. My fascination with microbiome and gut health rooted in collagen, but as we have evolved, I've had a better understanding of exactly the role that this would play in the future. Considering also that now, as trends move toward holistic and preventative health, that it's more important than ever. And I have not been more excited about a new product than this, ever before since BioCell. That's how excited I am. I just want to jump out and tell you this because I have been trying to keep this, close to my chest, as much as I possibly could, because I almost felt like no one had discovered exactly the path that this business and this industry would go down if everyone knew the benefit of this. What I'm about to show you is the start of a fascination, of the world's fascination with a certain category that is going to become a household term in years to come. But we're at the forefront of it. In fact, I believe what we're going to do with this new product is what we did with collagen 10, 15, 20 years ago. So I am so excited. So I'm going to take you through a presentation next, but it is intended for the US market. So international markets will receive their own customized materials that will comply with your country's regulations. But let's just dive right in, okay? So there are 38 trillion microorganisms that make up your human genome, basically. There's a community of estimated 38 trillion microorganisms that live in and on your body. In fact, there's